So today's webinar is going to be a bit different because I intend on doing also a live demo. I am going to be asking for volunteers to help me during that demo, just to show how customer research is done. It's an interesting process, probably a bit different than what you are used to, but let's go ahead and get started. So the topic that I chose today, and I didn't mean to be provocative in it, but I thought it hits to the heart of two problems that marketers deal with very regularly. One problem is that many marketers still do not know how to do customer research in the proper way. And then the other problem that I see is that even when marketers intend on doing customer research, they don't do it correctly. So having said that, one of the things let's go ahead and do this. One of the things that I think that marketers suffer from is that we are very predictable. We follow the same processes. We implement the same steps, and we get the same results. And as a result of that, many brands, many products, many services suffer from the same problem. And that is the problem of sameness, where everything is commoditized, products are commoditized, services are commoditized, and to the consumer, we all look the same. We are different, but we all look the same. And this is a hard lesson that I've had to learn a few years back. I recall a large enterprise client reaching out to us and saying, hey, we would like to hire you for conversion rates optimization. We're excited. There's going to be a nice, sizable contract. So I actually handled the process, although we had a sales team. I said, you know what? This is such an important account. I have to be involved in the process. So, okay, so I'm going to be involved in the process. And we go ahead and prepare all the presentations. We walk the client through all the different steps and processes. And couple of weeks into the process, I'm able to establish a good relationship with the CMO of the prospective client. And I have a conversation with him, and I tell him, Michael, you know, you've listened to us. We're competing against some of the very well-known other CRO firms. What do you think? What do you think is the difference between us and the other usual suspects, the wider funnel, Conversion Excel, conversion rate experts? Kind of like, you know, those are the top firms that compete typically on contracts of that size and magnitude. And he said, Khalid, can I be very honest with you? And I told him, sure, you know, love to hear. I'd love to hear your feedback. And he says, well, you all sound the same. If I did not know that I'm talking to Khalid because it's on my calendar, I would have thought that I'm talking to somebody from wider funnel or conversion rate experts. And that hits me really hard in the face. It's like a punch in the gut, because I thought we were different. But in the eyes of prospective customers and clients, we all look the same. Now, I want you to think about this, because the approach that I'm going to show you today is a way for you to start distinguishing yourself and create a separate offer that is extremely difficult for your competitors to copy. Now, let me kind of like, you know, talking about predictability of marketers. I'm going to mention to you the story about the Westin Heavenly Bed. And if any of you guys have stayed at the Westin, you know that their beds are absolutely amazing. So the Westin had invested $30 million in their Heavenly Bed. It was a huge deal. And this was a few years back. We're talking about, I mean, it's probably must have been like now 16, 17 years ago when they released it. But it was a big deal at that point in time. Now, after they released it, guess what happens? Hilton and the marketers at Hilton said, you know what, we're not going to be outdone by the Westin. So they released the Serenity Bed. Marriott, not to be outdone, and because it's much larger, they go ahead and spend $190 million on the Revive collection. Hyatt releases the Grand Bed, Radisson releases the Sleep Number Bed, and finally the Crown Plaza releases the Sleep Advantage Bed. So what you have over here, again, is a herd mentality. We, as marketers, we follow the same process, we apply the same steps and techniques as everybody else, and we get the same results, and we offer the same products and services. Now, being in experimentation and conversion optimization, one of the most common questions that I hear is, or requests that I get, do you have a template that we can follow? Do you have a checklist? And you cannot imagine how often people ask me about a checklist, things that they can check to validate and verify that the site is constructed well for improving conversions. And I always tell them, I can have a checklist for simple usability items, silly things that you want to avoid. But if you fundamentally want to increase your website conversions, and we're not talking about increasing website conversion by 5 or 10%. No, we're talking about going from a 1% conversion rate to an 8% conversion rate. What you need to do is you need to change your way of thinking completely. You want to make sure that what you are doing is actually something very powerful. It is something that actually addresses the motivations of your customers, and that's how you're going to be able to increase conversion rates. And again, this is something that you will learn today on the webinar. At least you will learn the initial process on how to do that. So let's talk about the different types of user research that you see, or customer research that you see in the marketplace that people typically conduct. So there's one-on-one interviews, where this is typically you're calling a customer, doing those interviews via a Zoom or a GoToMeeting, or maybe a phone, or sometimes bringing them to your office, not nowadays because of what's going on with COVID. So that's one type of user research, and it has good lots of pros to it, probably very few cons, but we'll talk about those as well. But it gives you a good overall understanding of the market. It gives you the ability to interact with your participant. Now, you also you can do focus groups. That's where you bring a group of people and you start asking them questions, understanding kind of their motivation. You can also do usability testing. Now, remember, usability testing, it's a type of user research, and this is where you have a particular task that you want a user that you brought to perform on your website, and you observe them performing that task. Make sure that, are they clicking exactly where you expect them to click? Are they following the path that you expect them to follow? This never fails to amuse me and amaze me at the same time, because you expect visitors to see certain things, but lots of times they surprise you. They don't see them, they ignore them, they take a completely different path. I'm somebody, for example, who generally does not like to use the search bar. But we know from our research that there is about 20% of any website visitors, anywhere between 15 to 20% of your site visitors, who love to use the search functionality and use it as a primary tool for navigation around the website. You have the other maybe 80 to 85% of the people who rely on the site navigation, whether it's the primary navigation or the auxiliary navigation. Two different ways of navigating, two different ways of finding items on a site. And when you are constructing a site, you want to create the site for both groups. Finally, you have surveys, and and we've seen the surveys. You've seen them everywhere, where basically the small pop-up that appears on the side of the site, left side, right side, and you're asking people different types of questions. And you typically ask people, I would say, 1 of 4 different types of questions. You ask them, what are your motivators? What brings you to our website today? You will ask them, what are the barriers, things that are stopping them from converting? You'll ask them, what are the hooks? What persuaded you to convert? So those are 3 different types. And then the 4th type of question is what we call satisfaction type of questions. How happy how happy are you with our site? How happy are you with our content? So you're just getting a general feel for how visitors feel about your site. The challenge with surveys, because they are extremely popular nowadays, and as a matter of fact, if you use Pie, which is a software made by Invest, you see that it's one of the tools that we offer to our subscribers. The challenge with surveys, though, is that they give you very few data points from a lot of people. So you just know generally, and this is one of the surveys that we usually launch with any new client that signs up with us, is what we call a motivator survey. What brings you to our site today? So we've just had a large SEO company sign up with us to help them with their conversion optimization. And one of the first questions that we said, well, we would like to understand, why are people coming to your site? Are they coming to hire you as an SEO company? Are they coming to learn about SEO? Are they coming to learn about digital marketing? So there's different motivations, and those motivations can really help you understand how you structure the website. So that's one of the problems that you have with surveys, is they give you very few data points, but from a lot of people. Another problem that you have with all different types of user research is when you're interacting with users, you're getting top of mind answers. And by the way, this is a particular problem that you have when you're doing the one-on-one interviews, if you're not careful, because lots of times people tell you the answers they think you want them to say. And this is a huge problem, correct? Because you actually want deep, meaningful answers, but it takes an art. It takes structure to be able to pull those deep insights from people. Now, this also happens with focus groups. With focus groups, sometimes it is actually even worse, because people hear each other and they become a sounding board for each other. So they're repeating the same answers. So you got to be careful, because yes, top of mind answers are okay, but really what you want to look at and what you want to dig deeper into is deep answers that can actually help you understand the psychological elements behind a user motivation to really decide to choose your product or service. Another problem with user research is we all have biases, and this is a huge problem, because one of the problem with biases is we do not recognize that we have them. And even if we recognize that we have them, there's this battle that happens. So we have biases about our website, about our visitors, about our products and services. A few years back, we were working with a large retailer, clothing retailer, based in New York. They do about $1.2 billion, large company. And they've been around, I think they were established in the 1930s. So we're talking to their VP of marketing, and we say, well, we would like to change XYZ on your product pages and in the checkout process. And his response to our team was, this is effing stupid. This is the worst example I have seen of changes that you want to make on a website. So the team was confused on how to handle this particular client, and they asked me to jump on a call with the VP. It was the VP of e-commerce. So I call him up and I say, hello, and excuse me. We're having a conversation, and I tell him, well, we would like to, our research shows that your customers are struggling with this point. And he said, no, we know our customers really well. And I think this is really stupid. It takes almost 2 days of back and forth until he agrees to actually run the test. Finally, we run the test, and it basically blows out their current design, blows it off, just completely destroys it, and it generates a really nice increase in conversions. And when you're doing a $1.2 billion, even a 5 or 10% increase in conversions, you can just imagine the impact on the bottom line that generated. And then I have a call with the same VP of e-commerce, and he says, Khalid, I have to say, I feel stupid now. Again, this particular client had a bias and preconceived notion about his site and about his actual customers. And that's the challenge that you run into when you're doing customer and user research that you want to be careful with. The final problem that you have whenever you're conducting user research is sometimes you're asking the wrong questions. And when you're asking the wrong questions, guess what? You get the wrong answers. And that is horrible, because the wrong answers can take you astray, can really cost lots of time, lots of effort, and really, while you could be focused on one thing, they take you to focus on something else. So that's the reason you have to be careful with this. So having said that, well, okay, great. So you just told us that user research is really important. And at the same time, you just told us that, well, you know, that it's not, we have to be careful on how to conduct user research. I'm going to actually launch a poll. Let's see over here. So, and I'm going to be asking, let's launch a poll and give people a chance to vote. So how often do you conduct user research, by the way? Are you doing user research every week? Are you doing it every month, every quarter? It's been a while. Oh man, it's someone else's job. Okay, we got to talk about this. And let's see, I'm going to give people a chance to answer. I'm seeing more people saying it's someone else's job. Okay. Again, I'm going to give people about 10 more seconds, and let's look at the answers. Okay. So by the way, the process that I'm going to share with you in a little bit, and I will ask for a participant. I have not done this where a participant is actually able to join. I think I can do it through Zoom, but I'd like to do this customer interview actually live. And I'll show you how we conduct actually customer research in order for us to dig deep for insights. So, so the majority of the answers, 38% says it's been a while. After that, then it's like, you know, every month, and then someone else's job, that's 25%, and then every quarter, about 13%. So the majority has been a while. And let me see, let's share the results actually. So we are sharing the results now. I'm assuming that you guys can see them. So it's been a while. We actually, on conversion optimization projects, and even internally for our own products for Pecan Pie, we spend a lot of time doing customer research. Whenever we're working for clients, by the way, our team spends probably about 5 to 10 hours every week doing customer research, user interviews, and you'll see the kind of user interviews in a little bit, like I mentioned. So you're talking about anywhere between 30 to 40 hours every month that we're spending, and we're always finding new insights. So, okay, so let's go ahead and continue, and let's talk about the different kind of user research and a different approach to user research. So I'm going to take you to Onstar. And for those of you guys who are familiar with Onstar, it's a product of GM. And basically, when Onstar was first released, it was a feature that you get with the fancy models, the Escalades of, you know, kind of the fancy models of GM. And for a while, it was kind of an add-on feature that really was not required to generate any revenue. And it was expected that it was really the more expensive cars will have OnStar. And basically, you would use OnStar to do anything from getting your reservation at a restaurant to getting you directions. Remember, this is pre-iPhone. To if you're in an accident, OnStar will actually contact you, get 911 emergency services to your location. Now, at some point, GM decided that, well, you know what, we need the OnStar division to start generating revenue on its own. So they appointed a new president to the OnStar group, and he started doing some research. And the fundamental, again, we're talking about biases, the fundamental assumption that people had, and then the OnStar division had, was that OnStar was a feature that is in the more expensive models of GM, and the Cadillacs, basically. Those are the ones that actually got the OnStar. But when they looked at their data, what they found is it did not matter how expensive your car is. It did not matter whether you are buying a car for $100,000 or you're buying a car for $30,000. Both buyers have asked for OnStar. So the fact that you are a 60-year-old white male with upper income level had nothing to do with the fact whether you want to buy OnStar or not. So they had to start really understand and think, so okay, so it has nothing to do with the different personas that they had created for their product. It had nothing to do with the market segmentation that they have, because they initially assumed, again, it is the rich, old white males are the ones who are buying the service. OnStar was bought by different market segments to perform a specific task or specific job in this case, which is to provide the peace of mind when you are driving, especially if you have a family, your pregnant wife is driving, she gets in a car accident, you want her to have OnStar. And again, this is pre-iPhone. Now, the minute the OnStar team is able to figure out why their products and service are hired, that changes their approach to marketing completely. It has nothing to do, again, with the segmentation. It's all about why you are hired. What are you brought on board to do? And basically, people were hiring OnStar. And then I use the term hired loosely, and it comes from the jobs to be done framework. And we've talked about the jobs to be done framework if you follow us previously. But every product and service is always hired to perform a task. Now, the minute you figure out the job, it impacts how you design your product. It impacts the marketing that you do for your product. Why is that, and how does that work? Well, the minute they figured out that OnStar is hired to provide the peace of mind, and then Katrina happens and Rita happens, and if you guys recall, these are the hurricanes that happened in Texas and New Orleans. Guess what? Now, because their job is to provide the peace of mind as OnStar, now they have to figure out the resources that need to dedicate whenever there are hurricanes coming. They no longer have to dedicate resources to making reservations at restaurants, correct? Or giving directions. That's not the job that they are hired to do. They are hired to provide a peace of mind. So it changes how the product is designed. It changes how satellites are able to communicate with cars. It changes how they're allocating resources. And that is the power of real marketing, correct? So you go from, oh, well, we're a nice feature to have for older white males, upper class, into, oh, no, we are actually hired to provide peace of mind. It doesn't matter what kind of income, but what does that mean in terms of our product offering? So a fundamental question that you want to answer for yourself, whether I always say whether you're working in-house or you own the house, whether you're a marketing pro or a newbie, is why do people hire product or service? Now, if you think about this, people your customers are doing certain things a certain way, how things are being done, and they have been done. They want to make progress. They want to make a change. So we have an actual self and we have a desired self. And then we bring products and services to make that transition. Now, lots of times, and you have to remember this as a marketer, people are stuck at how things are today. They're happy with them. They don't want to make a change. They're used to them. You might offer a really better desired self, but if people don't recognize the need to move to that desired self, then you have a problem and you have a mountain that you need to move, correct? The minute somebody recognizes that, well, you know what, I don't like this, I want to actually make a change, your job as a marketer becomes easier. So if there's visitor motivation, your job, or customer motivation, your job as a marketer becomes really easier. All you need to do is to remove the hurdles that we typically put in the ways of our customers. Now, if somebody doesn't recognize that and they don't have the motivation, our job's a lot harder, because our job is about educating, is about trying to trigger that initial motivation. And that's basically this progress that people want to make is the jobs that we bring products and services to do. Now, everybody remembers the saying, people do not want to buy a 1/4-inch drill, they want a 1/4-inch hole. That's kind of the famous saying from Professor Theodore Levitt from Harvard Business School. And every time I speak at a conference, I show this slide and I always tell them, like, what do you think of this? And they say, yeah, we don't buy a 1/4-inch drill, we buy a 1/4-inch hole. And I'm like, really? When was the last time you went to a Home Depot and you bought a 1/4-inch hole? I've never bought a 1/4-inch hole. I probably bought a 1/4-inch drill, by the way, but not a hole. what we buy as consumers is actual emotional and social needs. And I always like to give the examples of us moving to the new house. And for a while, my wife is asking me to put the pictures up. She's like, just go ahead and put the pictures. Please put the pictures. Please put the pictures. And I just, I have about a million things going on. I'm not thinking about the pictures. Eventually, I'm like, you know what? I need to go to Home Depot. I need to buy me a drill. And I come back and I put the pictures. And I start thinking, when I bought this drill, there was 3 different aspects to me making the decision. There is the product feature, being able to put that hole in the wall. But there was an emotional side where I really wanted my wife to stop asking me about about hanging the pictures. So there was an emotional side to my decision. And then side to my decision, which is I basically had friends coming over and I really did not want them to see the pictures still on the floor. And I didn't want to hear any comments about the pictures being on the floor. So as a marketer, if you're able to figure out those product features, the functional aspects, the emotional aspects, the social aspects, you have hit gold. And the right customer interview will actually help you figure out the functional, emotional, and social motivations for using a product or service. So, okay, great. We've talked about this, but how do we actually run those features? So I actually want to do a live demo, and I haven't done this in a webinar in a while, but I think it will be interesting. So what I'm going to do over here, so here's the deal with the live demo, and this will be interesting because I would want somebody from the webinar participants to join. So if you had bought a product or service and listen to the criteria, I'm actually going to launch a poll. So this will help that we're all, okay, so let's do another poll. And I'm going to launch a poll. So, okay, so you must have bought something for the first time in the last 3 months, and you must have spent at least $100 on it. Again, something in the last 3 months, because that's what we're going to do a customer interview about that thing. And I would like to say that you've bought it for the first time, correct? I buy meat all the time for more than $100. So again, those of you who are answering yes. So if you bought something for more than $100, so let's use the chat feature and let's see if, and there's the Q&A. I'm just trying to figure out how to do this. So we're gonna pause the share for a second and let's take a look at our participants. Okay. And if you're one of those people who would like to participate and actually, so we'll do the live demo, why don't you go ahead and just send me a message. And let me see. So I can actually, as long as you have a mic, that's all it's gonna take. And we can go ahead and do the, you can raise your hand, by the way. I guess that's the other option. You can raise your hand and we can use. So Katrina, I see if you're up for it. I'm just gonna give people a chance. So, okay, Katrina, so let's go ahead and do this. And I'm gonna allow to talk. So this will be interesting. Hello, Katrina. I think you're still muted. Hello, how are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So Katrina, thank you for wanting to join. Give us a little bit of background about you before we jump into doing a jobs to be done interview.
I'm a UX designer for mobile apps primarily, and
Okay.
I'm very excited because I'm usually on the other side of the interview, so
very good.
I'm curious.
Awesome, awesome. So you said you bought a product in the last 3 months and you spent more than $100 on it.
Yeah, quarantine, Corona time, splurge.
That's what's happening. People are actually spending money because they're stuck at home, correct?
Yep. A way to help your psyche a bit.
Oh man, I could talk to you so much about that because it's funny. The first 3 weeks of of the COVID-19 and people being stuck at home, we saw a drop in sales. But I think after a little while, there's this pent up demand and people are like, okay, what am I doing over here? So they went on a shopping spree. Everybody was buying, but now we're starting sort of like people are like, okay, we need to be careful a bit more with our
Yeah.
stuff. But let's jump in. So what did you buy?
I bought myself a cooking machine
Okay.
for the one that is an extend mixer and stuff like this.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice.
Because I cook a lot at home.
Very nice. Okay. Excellent. This is actually, and how much did you spend on it, by the way?
200.
200. Okay. Perfect. So let's say I'm the VP of marketing for that cooking machine. And basically what I would do is I would actually pull the customers that had bought the product, our product in the last 3 months. So that's the reason I asked. So usually we like to interview people who have done, who have purchased anywhere between a month to 3 months. Less than a month, people are still in the what we call the honeymoon period. They are still happy with their product. More than 3 months, they've forgotten basically the motivation behind buying the product. We send them an email. We usually get lots of responses, and we pick every week. Again, we're doing 3-4 of those interviews, and we're talking through the process of people. So I'm going to actually walk you through the process, assuming that you're one of those people. So Katerina, am I pronouncing your name correctly, by the way? I'm like sometimes
Yeah, it's
okay.
pretty close.
Okay, good. So thank you for participating in this initial customer research that we're doing. So this is an initial research that's going to be part of a much larger research that we're going to be conducting few months down the line around how people buy cooking machines. So as part of this initial research, what we're trying to do is just to understand your story. What made you buy the cooking machine? And again, it's your story. There's no right or wrong answers. All we want to know is what happened to you in order for you to say, you know what, it's time to buy the machine. The best way to think about it is almost if I'm shooting a documentary. So I'm the director, I have a cameraman with me, and we're creating this documentary around your purchase process for this product. So we're going to be asking you a few questions around this. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds great.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit more. When did you decide to buy the cooking machine? Do you remember what day was it?
I think it was a bit more than a month ago, but I've been thinking about this for quite a while because I really like baking, and some of the recipes are not so easy to mix, like using just like hand on a fork. But then I was like always thinking, I'm not a professional cook. That still costs quite a lot, and like how many times per month I'm going to use it. So it's been on my mind for quite a while. But yeah, after 1 month in Corona time, I said, okay, I cook every day and I bake a lot. So that's about the time.
Okay. So I'm going to stop the interview over here and I'm just going to comment. What you have just given me, by the way, in the last 30 seconds, it is a gold mine for marketers. And let's drill a bit deeper and I will continue with this. But imagine I want to write copy, correct? And I'm creating an ad for this cooking machine. What did you say? And lots of times people hire, people who specialize in creating web copy. I always tell them, give them those customer research insights because there is so much that you said. Bacon is not easy, correct? I'm not a professional. Now I'm cooking every day. You've right away given me lots of motivations, correct? And guess, imagine those very powerful headlines that I can use, correct? Cooking every day, and you don't have to be a professional. Create amazing pies without having to worry about being a professional. There is just so much that you have used in your own words. So Katerina, let's go back to the day that you made the decision, and then we'll go back to how you start thinking about this. Do you recall what day of the week was it? Was it a weekend, a weekday?
I actually think it was Friday. It was end of the week, and I was pretty excited because I wanted to find something that would be delivered by Saturday. Almost impossible. So I could make a pie recipe.
Okay. What kind of pie was it?
It was pecan pie.
Okay, Pecan Pie. Okay, I like that. And you think it was Saturday morning or nighttime? If you're wanting it to be received on Saturday, so what was it? When did you order? Was it Friday morning, Friday afternoon?
I was Friday around 4, like I was almost done with my work, and I thought, okay, if I order now, I still can get it by tomorrow. So that's why.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Were you at home at that point in time?
Yep.
Okay. And where were you sitting, by the way?
Actually, I'm sitting in the kitchen because I have a living room connected with the kitchen.
Okay. Okay. How was the weather that day, by the way?
Um, I can't recall. I think it was quite okay.
Quite okay. Like sunny,
Yeah.
cloudy. Do you recall? Or cold, warm?
Can't recall this, unfortunately. Yeah, I think
Okay.
it was standard weather, not something extraordinary, not raining super heavily or not super warm and sunny, something
Okay.
normal.
Very good. Um, Now, let's go back to the very first time you thought about buying this machine. Do you recall when did you first think, oh, I'd like to get me one of those cooking machines?
Yeah, because I'm watching some cooking shows and some cooking masterclass because I really enjoy it. And
Okay.
often they use the professional machines, although they always say, yeah, of course you can do it at home with your like hand mixer or something else, but it never comes out as perfect as they have in the machine. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
perfect. So I'm going to stop you again over here, and just going to comment about some of the things that you've told me. If I'm doing marketing, correct? Cooking shows, cooking masterclass. Guess what? Cooking shows. Okay, I can figure out a way to do a partnership with them. But even better, cooking masterclass, because lots of times people say, okay, well, cooking shows, that's an area where everybody competes. But how about cooking masterclasses? Correct. If I'm doing any Facebook advertising, those are the people I want to target. Correct. I can probably have a deal for for example, let's say I go to masterclass and I try and do something there. And another thing that I focus on in my ads and on my landing page, what I would say is taking a cooking master class, trying to cook pies, but they never turn out to be good because your hand mixer is not working well for you. Correct. Look at this. This is your words. Correct. We're
yeah.
using them in marketing again, and we're still drilling a bit deeper. So how long you've been taking those? How long you've been actually taking the master class? Tell me a little bit more about that.
I just subscribe, like I usually do it as a one-time thing. I never went to some like in-depth course or
Okay.
something like this. So
Okay.
something on YouTube pops up, or like recently I got the class from
Master
a
class.
master class platform, and you can watch some master classes there.
Perfect, perfect. So, was that the first time you thought about getting the mixer, the cooking machine, or did you think
No,
about it
the
before?
first one was the cooking shows because I've been watching them forever. I always enjoyed it,
Okay,
especially yeah when people that are coming from no background competing and trying to learn new recipes, and that's very exciting for me.
perfect. When did you sign up for the master class, by the way?
Beginning of the Corona, because I get a lot of
Okay,
promotions on YouTube, and I shared it with a friend who was also interested in a master class from one of the
okay.
speakers, and yeah,
Yeah, because they also had this offer, correct? The get one subscription, you get the other
yeah,
free. There you
exactly.
go. Okay, so you do the master class. Which class were you taking, by the way, for the cooking? Do you recall?
There's from Gordon Ramsay. I took just
Okay,
one.
okay, from Gordon Ramsay. Okay, I like that. Now, initially, I'm assuming he's using his. They have their fancy mixers. Did you
Yeah.
try what actually prompted you to say, you know what, it's not turning out to be as good when I'm using my hand mixer?
I mean, it's takes away, like I was doing some pizza dough and it
Okay,
takes quite a lot of time and also like strength in the hands to mix
okay,
it in a proper way.
okay.
And yeah, that was the feeling that it took me really long and it turned out like, nah, okay-ish.
Okay, so you do the pizza dough. Are you sharing the pizza with anybody, or are you just eating it by yourself?
Of course I'm sharing. I had, yeah, my husband was eating most of it.
Okay. Well, what did he tell you after you made it?
Uh, of course he said it's delicious because he ate it hot out of the oven.
Okay. But you give it to him. It took a while. It didn't turn out to be as good. He's saying it's delicious. What are you thinking?
I always say things like this, but I'm a perfectionist, so I like, nah, it doesn't look exactly like I expected it to look like, and yeah. So I
Okay.
know that he's saying things mainly because he's less picky, and also he loves me. So whatever can you say?
Mhm. Now, when we talked about, if you recall in my slide, I talked about the emotional and the social aspects of buying product. What you just told me is the emotional side, correct? The husband who loves your food no matter what, correct?
Yeah.
But you inside also, so that there's kind of like, multiple things. You're a perfectionist, correct? And again, imagine me running marketing for that company. An image of a wife cooking something for her husband or her significant other, correct? And thinking that this is not as good. Uh, there's just so much emotion that now is starting to get revealed. So you cook the pizza. What kind of pizza, by the way, did you make?
It was Chicago style
Oh,
mozzarella. Yeah,
oh,
it has like
okay,
special dough that it's sit in the fridge for like a day.
okay. So it's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So you're making this Chicago style. Do you recall? Did you make it on a weekend? Well, you said on a Saturday. Did you make it that's right away, or how
Oh, no,
was it?
actually, the pizza actually cooked without the machine. I cooked it on my own, and I think it
I
was a
see.
weekend.
Okay, so you did it on the weekend. Your husband tries it. Um, was it right away after that you went into what, I need to start looking for different machines, or how did that process happen after?
I think we discussed it for a week with my
Okay,
husband, like if we really need it or not, if I cook it, if I'm gonna use it after quarantine, because it's also a big machine and it takes space on the countertop. So there were a lot of discussions, and then I think I need some process to actually buy it.
so explain that to me again. Sorry, can you tell me a bit more around that?
So I cooked it on weekends, and then I said like, oh, see, like I cook a lot, I bake a lot, and like this dough, it was quite complicated. It took a while. It didn't turn out as perfect as I would want it to come out, and maybe we should discuss buying the machine, and then we discussed it maybe like on Tuesday again, and then we looked again on Friday evening, and then we made the decision to buy it.
Perfect. I love that. One of the things that you mentioned that you were concerned about is the space and I know when I now, because we're actually constantly buying kitchen equipment, it seems everybody, everybody is correct. I'm in the process of buying an air fryer or a deep fryer. We're going through
Mhm.
that debate right now. You're concerned about the space, the countertops. Is there enough space? What other concerns did you have?
I mean, my main concern was that I buy something and it sits in the cupboard forever and then I'm not actually using it because I don't really like to drag along things that are not in
Okay.
use, and then I would just sell it on some secondhand website like eBay Kleinanzeigen and something like that. So I
Okay.
didn't want to invest in something that I really won't use in the end. It
So
sounds like a loss.
yeah, how did you solve that issue? Because that's always a concern, correct? So oh, I'm buying something, I'm excited about it, but maybe I'm not going to use it. So what did you and your husband walk me through that discussion with your husband? What did you have?
I mean, we said that I always wanted it. I've been thinking for quite a while, and then we bought not the highest configuration, so we bought the basic one that I really
Okay.
needed. Is like the dough hook and
Okay.
the thing like the whisk and the smoothie maker. So we,
Okay.
we bought only the parts that I really wanted because you know how the configurations work.
Yeah.
You pay extra 50 and then you have extra 10 supplements, and then you
Okay.
pay 50 more, but then you get 20, and you think, oh, but this is a really good deal. And a lot of times
Yep.
people would jump on this best option price versus amount of like supplements, but in the end you use only 3. So what is the reason? So we kind of downsized, and that was the deal for me, that we downsized to the essentials.
Perfect. Perfect. I like that. So I'm going to stop the interview over here and I'm going to comment as well. A headline again that I would use for this particular, you always wanted it, correct? Because that's what you said. I
Yeah.
always wanted it. Imagine a headline that says, you always wanted it, you know? And if you think about this, whenever we buy a product, subscription, by the way, masterclass could have been also another subscription, correct? That you got, or we could be doing this interview about masterclass. Uh, but like now we're talking about this product. There is an initial criteria that you put for yourself. I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, correct? But then when you're about to make the decision, there's a negotiation. Sometimes it happens with you and yourself, sometimes with your significant other, in this case with your husband. And it's about this give and take. What do we need to consider? And I like how you said, you know what, we're not going to go with all the options because it becomes really expensive. There's another negotiation about this space. There's lots of the criteria. And you might start with 5-6 things that are important to you, but then you narrow them down because I really want to have this. Well, I'm not going to go for the most expensive all features. I'm going to go for the basic things that I actually know that I need to use. So again, if you're a marketer, there is a wealth of information that you use there. Lots of times we focus on lots of product features that are really meaningless to customers. We think that people care about them. People tell us that they care about them, but really, in reality, people don't care a whole lot about some of those. Okay, so you decide that you're gonna buy the product. Now, are you doing initial research? You said like when you start thinking about it, Tuesday, by Friday you make a decision. Talk to me about the research that you've done to really select the right product.
There are not so many big players. There's like KitchenAid player, and then there's one from Bosch. So I just looked through some websites. I visited website from each brand. Some of them are go more like they're more stylish than functional, and then you clearly pay like extra for the look of it.
Okay.
And some of them are cheaper, but then a lot of people write, oh, it's like the parts fell apart basically after half a year. So like I definitely did the research before I bought something that is like more expensive than.
I like that. So tell me a little bit more, what size did you use for the research? Any particular size, or were you just Googling different names? How did that work? Walk me through the process of research.
So basically I Googled the term Küchenmaschine, like cooking machine, KitchenAid, and then like the first results were from 3 brands, and then I looked into their price points and what they offer for a particular price, because I also didn't want to get a cooking machine for 1,000 or like for 500. This is way too much. So I was trying to downsize in that one. So I just framed the amount of money and then the functions, and then compared what can I get for the money that I'm ready to spend.
Very good. Very nice. So typically in an interview, and I don't want to drill a bit deeper on this, but typically in an interview, we start asking about, okay, what's the criteria? And we would ask somebody, hey, have you written it down? By the way, can you email it to us? Because this is extremely powerful. It's like kind of a gold mine. But notice how you made the decision as well. I would also ask you, do you know what size besides the brand websites that you've looked at? Did you look at YouTube as well? Did you see any reviews? Because, again, this helps me understand the buying decision. By Friday, you've decided. Did you have a model selected at that point, or were 2 competing models?
Yeah, there was one that was again a bit more expensive but had more extra features, and then I was like, is it really worth it? And then we decided not to go for it because the price was really just too much of a difference for a minor feature.
Okay, very nice. Again, by the way, so powerful, correct? If you're a marketer and you're writing copy, guess what? No need to pay extra for features that you will never use. Again, you're just giving a wealth of information. Where did you buy the product from?
Amazon.
Amazon, of course. Amazon always.
I wanted it by Saturday. That's why I had no other choice.
But it's amazing. Did you also? I'm sure Amazon reviews were part of the process in making the decision. Correct?
Yeah.
Were there other review sites, other e-commerce sites that you read reviews about the products on? Or
not really. I just visited in the end I bought a Bosch one. So I visited their website because they also had a lot of videos about how to use the product and all the features, and like they even have some comparison, like you can pick up different machines and compare them because Bosch was the last one that I decided to go for, and then I needed to decide between 2 models. Then I looked at their website as well.
Very nice. So you order the item on Saturday, it arrives, on Friday, it arrives Saturday. Is that correct? Okay, very nice. When did it arrive? Sometimes Amazon delivers in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon.
No, I was in the evening, so I wasn't actually able to cook anything on Saturday, but I did on Sunday, so it was fine for me.
What did you cook? What was that first?
There was a pie.
Oh, it was a pie. What kind of pie? That's the pecan pie or different?
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
okay. And how did it turn out?
Great, actually.
Well, tell me a little bit more, so this is the first pie with the machine. Tell me how, your husband is
Um,
trying it, and you're a perfectionist. So walk me through that.
I mean, the best part for me was that I could do things simultaneously. So I would start to do the dough in the machine, and then I would start to cutting the pecans, and then like to wash them and prepare them to, and then as the dough is done, I can put the cream in. So it's
Very
quite
nice.
fast. It's really speeding me up. And the structure, of course, is perfect. It's like easy to roll it out because it's very smooth and even.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to stop the interview over here, and I'm just going to give you just a few things to think about. Lots of the customer research, if you think about this, focuses on, well, if you're an e-commerce website, so how is it using our website? How is it ordering the product? If you notice, I didn't ask you any of those questions, correct?
Mhm.
What I focused on is your journey prior to making the decision to buy. What was that trigger, correct? Well, I've been watching lots of cooking shows, so that's kind of like, it's always been in the back of your head. But then you taking the master class was kind of that trigger event where you said, okay, no, I really need, and then you trying to make that Chicago style pizza that didn't turn out all too good. And then you have this mix of emotional and social aspects to you making a decision. You hired that mixer, that food machine. Guess what? Why do you hire it? Well, okay, you hired it to make the perfect pie, but you also hired it because you're a perfectionist. You hired it because you want your husband to really enjoy the pie and the pizza, correct? It's not only about the perfect pie because that's the functional aspect, but there's a social and emotional aspects, right? And so, and if you think about this, is like you said, at some point you got so frustrated, you're like, I gotta have this. I'm not gonna make another pizza. That's just not good. And it's there in the back of your head. And then you go through this negotiation process. Now we're ready to make a decision. Let's go ahead and do that. And then a whole bunch of food mixers and food machines apply to the job because you had this job opening, and they all apply and they all bring their resumes, and you say, you know what, okay, I'm not gonna, and they're all asking almost like, somebody's asking for $1,000, another is asking for 200, another for 500, and you say, you know what, for this position, this is the budget that I have, and this is the perfect, but I need to check the credentials, correct? It's almost like a job opening that you've had and different products applied to it, correct? And they're trying to fulfill that the functional emotional side of the job. And finally, you got the perfect mixer, and now you've hired it and you've made that pecan pie and you're happy. You see how different the jobs to be done interview? It's really not about the post-purchase, it's all about the emotional side of the pre-purchase. Because if you're able to figure those, then you're able to create that perfect experience for your customers, and you're able to really construct it in a way that just is very unique and very different than how typical marketers do, or how marketers typically do their interviews. I hope that you found this different and helpful, different style of interviews. Everyone, I promised to keep the webinar to 50 minutes. We did start about 5 minutes late. I'm going to give people, Katrina, thank you for participating. I really appreciate you taking the time to actually share your experience with us. That was very,
Thanks.
very helpful.
It was very interesting.
Awesome. Awesome. So what I'm going to do is, again, Katrina, thank you very much. What I'm going to do is I want to allow people a chance, if you have any particular questions that you might have, please go ahead and send them to me via the Q&A. I don't see any questions, but I'm giving people a chance. Again, this is how we typically conduct the process. Let's resume the share. How we conduct the process of the jobs to be done interviews. I'm going to just mention last thing, and again, if you have any particular questions that you want to ask, please send them my way. I want to mention about our conversion optimization masterclass. Now, we typically conduct the masterclass and conferences all across the world. We were actually scheduled to do it in Seattle in the SMX Advanced Conference, but of course that all got pushed back. I was supposed to be speaking also at Inbound. It's 150 lessons, about 60 videos that we've included that walks you through the process of actually running a conversion optimization project. It's the same process that our team conducts. You can access the class through bit.ly /CRO Academy. If you're interested in signing up for the class, do send me an email, do connect with me, because we'll give you a discount. We still have not officially released it publicly, so it's a very soft launch. So if you're interested in taking the class, send me a message so we can give you a discount code. I hope that you guys have found the process interesting and insightful. Thank you for participating. And until next time, take care and happy testing.